Hello and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve and today we're looking at taking Salah out for the remaining 6 game weeks up until the World Cup and a quick review of what happened in game week 10, which was another rough game week to be honest. Martinelli is the man that has been hurting me since my game week 9 wildcard where I decided to take him out ahead of a couple of tricky fixtures and the blank in game week 12, which looks to have been a huge mistake. He now goes away to Leeds in game week 11, which is a plum fixture for him, before his blank in game week 12. And the man that I brought in I was looking forward for a bit of a differential against Martinelli, someone who could keep pace with him, and decided to bring in Sinisterra, who got a red card in the exact same game week. Now, in game week 10, I've scored 56 points, which is 2 below average. We had Pope and Net with 2 points. Trippier conceding a goal to wreck his clean sheet, but still coming away with 7 points due to an assist. Cancelo absolutely smashing it this game week with a goal and an assist and a clean sheet to rack up 18 points. James with an out of the blue benching by Potter. Potter also benched Sterling and Aubameyang in the same game. James did come off the bench to lock Andreas out of an auto sub in for 6 points. I made the mistake of putting Nico Williams as first bench member to cover Mitrovic in case he wasn't going to play. I saw Nico Williams, Nottingham Forest, playing Aston Villa as a more likely clean sheet than the one man of Andreas being able to get any attacking returns, and got that unfortunately wrong. Andreas scored in the first 5 minutes of that game, which was not ideal because I knew a lot of players would have Andreas first on the bench for Mitrovic. Not ideal. So Nico Williams comes in with 1 point. He also got benched for this game. So he only played 32 minutes at the end. Salah, well, he came in on my wildcard game week 9, and that was a mistake. I was banking on Thiago and Matip coming back into the team for Liverpool to solidify the Liverpool outfit. And in the Champions League game I watched where they were both back, Liverpool looked quality, it looked really good, and so I brought Salah in. And since it has not been great, he could have had a penalty. There was a handball in the box that was denied by VAR, which is unfortunate, but Salah only had, I think, 1 shot in the game, if that. I don't even know if he actually had a shot in that game against Arsenal. Klopp played a completely different formation. Salah looked like he was actually playing right midfield with Jota, Nunez, and Diaz all on the pitch with Salah. So there was like a 4-4-2 kind of formation going on. It looked like they were trying to just overload the attack and get 4 attackers out there, but Salah just looked lost. He didn't know what he was doing with all those players around him. He was way out wide, wasn't getting in, hardly touching the ball. When he did touch the ball, it was either a recovery or just the little 1-2 with Trent before the ball got switched around the back and went elsewhere. And even when he did go to the left side of the field, Salah wasn't even getting in the box. So looking at that and the price tag that he has against him, he has dropped in value again, down to 12.7 million. He's now owned by 26% of the game. He was 32 when I bought him. Not getting into the box. Yes, he's still on pens, but he got subbed off at 70 minutes as well, which was interesting because it was 2-2 at that point. It took Salah off. You know, you'd think that Klopp would be going for a win there, but I don't know what's going. I mean, clearly Salah wasn't playing very well, and rightly so. He should have been pulled, but it was a brand new formation that he was working with, and just looked lost. It looked like he didn't know what he was doing, which is not boding well going forward. He plays Man City this week, which is why I'm looking at selling him. We'll just go through the rest of the team. Maddison picks up his 4th yellow card of the season. He is 1 yellow card away from being suspended for a match, which is not great. That is a bit of a headache that's probably going to pop up in the next couple of weeks. Leicester do have a pretty good run of fixtures across the next 3, which is Crystal Palace at home, Leeds at home, and then Wolves away before they travel to Man City. So if Maddison picks up a yellow card in any of those games, he will be suspended for a match. So he's probably a case of don't buy, don't sell at the moment. But we may have to react in a week where we hadn't planned a transfer for that. So we do need to keep that in the back of our minds. Salah got an assist with 5 points. Trossard in the game, Brighton played very well against Tottenham. On the whole, Trossard comes away with 2 points. He was a short-term replacement for Sinisterra's suspension on his red card. He's got it wasn't ideal to bring him in against Tottenham, but he was mostly being brought in for the following 2 fixtures, which was this week Brentford away and then Nottingham Forest in game week 12 when the blank happens, who will most likely be my captain that week. So Trossard was a buy for captaincy in game week 12. So I'm okay with the 2 points there. Haaland with just the solo goal. I just cannot seem to pick up any captaincy points from Haaland. I missed all 3 of his hat-tricks. The times I have captained him, he scored 1 goal this week. He scored 1 goal in the game against Wolves, where they were playing against 10 men for a majority of the fixture. And the other time I captained him, I think he got maybe a goal and a yellow card and only picked up 5 points or something like that. Haaland's been rough all season. He is, at least he scored, all right? So I'm quite happy that he's got Liverpool this week, who I think Man City are absolutely going to slap. Now, we'll go through the last players in the team as well. Tony got his penalty to ruin the clean sheet for Pope and Trippier. Also picked up a yellow card. He's now sitting on 3 yellow cards. So for those of you out there that I've noted a couple of the key players that are in a lot of teams that are on 3 or 4 yellows. So Maddison's on 4 yellows. Jesus for Arsenal is on 4 yellows, so he is 1 yellow card away from being suspended as well. Delot, probably not as heavily owned for United, he's on 4 yellows, and then there's a whole bunch of players that are sitting on 3 yellows at the moment. We've got James, Tony, Saliba, Mitrovic, Kane, Fabian Schär, and Nico Williams, all on 3 yellows. So they are 2 yellows away from being suspended. There are a lot more players sitting on 3 yellows, but those are the more highly owned players in FPL. Now, game week 11. So this is how the team would currently line up at the moment. I've got Pope in net against Manchester United away, which is not ideal. I've also got Trippier against Manchester United away. I think Newcastle are going to cause Manchester United some issues in this game. Trippier just seems like he's got so many routes to points that he is just playing week in, week out. The only time I would probably consider benching him was if he was playing against Man City. So he is just a lock in the team. Pope should hopefully pick up some save points in this game. They could even keep a clean sheet against Manchester United, although it is an away fixture. James goes away to Aston Villa, which looks like a lock-in clean sheet if he starts. So Potter benched him. I suspect he benched James, Sterling and Aubameyang, and I suspect that's probably looking forward at the fixtures coming up. Chelsea did have an easy fixture last week, and he rightly predicted that he would be able to get through with some of his, maybe, I wouldn't like to say second stringers. They've got a pretty strong squad with relatively good depth. But I am hoping that he is playing in this match. I do not know if it was just a random rest for the games coming up, or if it's some sort of tactical switch or something. I suspect he will probably play, and so James stays in the team. Cancelo goes away to Liverpool. He is going nowhere from my squad. He played an outstanding game last week. And like I said, I think Liverpool are going to get rolled by Man City this week. Maddison plays Crystal Palace at home. Now, I did a quick bit of research into shots conceded in the box. So these are some of the stats that I look at. Are not really the expected goal stats and whatnot, because expected goals, the way they calculate the stats, I don't quite agree with. The things that I find quite important are like the shots that you take in the box, the shots that you concede in the box. There's some very raw stats here. Now, if we go top of the list for shots conceded in the box, the top 4 read Everton, Fulham, Crystal Palace, and Bournemouth. I'll just bring this up on screen. These are just my notes, so ignore some of the stuff that's around here. It's probably a bit rough, but you can see here that in the first 10 game weeks of the season, Everton have conceded 104 shots inside the box, followed up by Fulham at 99, Crystal Palace at 94, Bournemouth at 93, Nottingham Forest at 90, and then you go 90 and below for the remaining top 10, and Southampton, Man United surprisingly up there. Wolves surprisingly up there too, because they are considered to be quite a defensive team. Leicester, I would have suspected actually being quite a lot higher up this list, but they're not actually as bad. They're sitting in 9th for the league table, and then Tottenham rounding out the top 10 for shots conceded inside the box. Most goals in football come from shots that are being sent inside the 18-yard box, and so this is quite a key stat that I look at quite often. So if we just focused on the top 5, Everton, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, and Southampton. These are the teams that I am looking to target for the remaining 6 game weeks of the season. Now, there's only 6 game weeks left, and so each transfer that we make moving forward is actually very valuable. And so when I look at my team and I see Maddison playing Crystal Palace, that's great because Crystal Palace conceded a lot of shots in the box. We got Zaha playing Leicester, which I thought would have been actually a lot better of a fixture, but it looks like they are mid-range for conceding shots in the box. It looks like it's just Danny Ward that is potentially causing them the headaches of conceding so many goals. We've got Trossard going away to Brentford, which is a pretty good fixture. Brighton are playing really good football at the moment. De Zerbi taking over. Looks like he has turned them into a bit more of an attacking outfit. Granted, we've only seen a couple of games from them. But I am more than happy to have Trossard for the next 2 fixtures. Then we have Salah at home to Man City, which we'll get on into a minute. We'll go through some transfer plans. We've got Tony playing Brighton at home. Tony's on pens and direct free kicks, so he is happily sitting in my squad. Haaland goes away to Liverpool. He will be my captain. I suspect Man City are going to beat Liverpool by 3 to 4 goals. And to round out the rest of my team, I have Mitrovic, who is still flagged at home to Bournemouth, and then with Andreas' first bench member also against Bournemouth, and then Nico Williams and Totti, which is just 2 players I do not want to be playing with on my bench. Now, the Man City vs Liverpool fixture. If we have a look at what happened for the Liverpool vs Arsenal game, in that first half, I think Liverpool actually owned Arsenal in that first half. Arsenal scored a very quick goal, 59 seconds before Martinelli started building up the rage within me, as I was pretty sure he wasn't going to get anything from this fixture. If he goes and scores a goal within the first 59 minutes and then goes and gets an assist later on in the game to absolutely rub salt in the wound. But for the majority of that fixture, Liverpool controlled possession in the first half of that fixture. Controlled possession, frustrated Arsenal, and it got to the point where in that first half, Arsenal, when they got the ball back, were showing the frustration of not having that ball for long enough, and then giving the ball back too quickly. And the end of the first half actually came a little bit too quickly, probably for Liverpool. They probably wanted to play that a little bit longer, apart from the fact that they conceded in the last minute of that first half. So Liverpool, I would say, definitely worked that first half better, and Arsenal were just very good at finishing the opportunities they were presented. The second half of the game, Arsenal just looked much the better team. Klopp made some random substitutions. Like I said, Salah got pulled off after 70 minutes. And then when they were down 3-2, he made a really weird substitution. Can't remember who he brought off. He brought off one of the forwards and brought on Elliott in midfield when they were chasing the game. Elliott is not a known goal scorer. Yes, Thiago and who was playing next to him? It'll come back to me. But Thiago and whoever else was playing in midfield were dominating the midfield. They were doing really well, taking the ball under pressure, working with that pressure and distributing the ball quite well. Thiago ran that midfield just primo. He was an outstanding player in the game. But Man City will not do what Arsenal did. So Liverpool, although they controlled possession and frustrated the hell out of Arsenal, they basically controlled a lot of the ball about in the halfway in Arsenal's half, but closer to the halfway line rather than closer to Arsenal's goal. And when Arsenal got the ball back, they did give away the ball too easily back to Liverpool. Now Man City will not do that. Man City will hold the ball way more comfortably than what we saw from Arsenal. Arsenal are a team that should be able to hold the ball quite well, but for some reason that fixture they just decided to give it away a little bit too easily at times. And the way that Man City is playing, they are generating just so much attack, and the way that Liverpool are dealing with rapid attacks, which is what Arsenal showed that Liverpool were struggling with, and the reason that Arsenal scored the 2 goals in that first half, even though they didn't have much of the ball. Man City will have the ball a lot and attack that rapidly, and I think this will be the game where Liverpool will get a severe reality check in the sense that they are no longer second best team in the league, or even probably third best team in the league. I think they will probably struggle to make the top 4 this year if they keep playing the way they are, and I think Man City are going to show them that. That's why we will see Haaland as my captain this week, probably captained by a lot of other managers out there, but we may see some differential captains out there, and so we could pick up some rank rises with Haaland as a captain this week, assuming that they do go and do the business against Liverpool. Now, the problems in my team at the moment is obviously Mitrovic is still flagged. Now, ideally, I do not want to sell Mitrovic because his run of fixtures is still very tasty for the next 4 games. They have 3 home games against Bournemouth, Aston Villa, and Everton. These, if you do not remember, are all in the top teams to target, and then the away fixture is away to Leeds. So Mitrovic, across this run of fixtures, is looking pretty plumb if he is fit. So I am looking at Salah out, because Salah in right mid for 12.7 million, hardly even shooting. Yes, he's still on penalties, but I just don't see where the points are coming from for Salah. I cannot have that much funds tied up in him, and I am looking at dropping him all the way down to some sort of 8 million priced midfielder in order to start looking at spreading the funds. Now, the strategy that I'm looking at for the 1 premium is to have a strong 12 players and just keep 2 dead bench member spots. I haven't had to go 2 players deep into my bench yet. it will give me a bit of a benching headache from week to week, but considering we've only got 6 game weeks until the World Cup, if I can plan this well enough, I should have a very strong 12 that can rotate in and around with the bench members coming in and out of the team as I make transfers, whittling down to game week 16. So I've put together a bit of a transfer planner. This is for game week 11 with Salah out, and I started by looking at Bowen in. Now, Bowen's immediate 3 fixtures. Yes, okay, sorry, I've got 2 Huskies, and one of them is just getting very attentive at the moment. Come on, mate, I'm recording a video. Bowen's next few fixtures, he's got that game against Liverpool away in game week 12 when the blank happens. But he's got Southampton and Bournemouth wrapping around those 2 fixtures. Now, Southampton and Bournemouth are 2 of the teams that are on my teams to target. Bowen is also on penalties, and Liverpool are not looking as assured as what we have known Liverpool to be in the past. And so it's not as tricky of a fixture for West Ham that week, and I'd be more than happy to play Bowen against Liverpool should it work out that way. I may not, because as I said, a strong 12, this may be the week that I choose to bench Bowen against Liverpool. But if we sell Salah to Bowen, we get left with 4.6 million. And we would have a team that kind of looks like this for game week 11 with, I've read out pretty much this whole team, but Bowen is away to Southampton. Now if we skip forward to game week 12, this is the blank game week, and I am here looking at upgrading my bench member in Andreas to Bruno Guimaraes. Now Bruno G hasn't been talked about very much, but he is looking pretty solid in this Newcastle team. He's getting into the box, he's getting a few touches of the box, he's scored at the weekend, receiving a cross far post from Trippier to put a great header past him. He also got another return, I believe. Was it an assist or maybe a second goal? I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But this is how this team would roughly line up if we go with the Salah out and then playing with a strong 12. We would bench Haaland and Cancelo. Those 2 players are not going anywhere from my team. We're bringing Bruno Guimaraes, who plays Everton, who are top of shots conceded in the box. So that's a pretty tasty fixture for him. Like I said, I'm happy to play Bowen against Liverpool away because of the penalty threat, as well as Liverpool not looking too good. Pope and Trippier both also have that home fixture against Everton. James is away to Brentford, assuming he's still starting and playing, which I would say is about 90% assured, but we will keep an eye on that. I then have a bit of an issue in my third defending spot, where I either have to play Nico Williams, who only got 30 minutes last week, or Totti, who managed to play the full 90 against Chelsea, but I suspect that was just through injury, and whether or not he actually holds that spot down will be something to keep an eye on. But Crystal Palace away or Brighton away, I mean, neither of these fixtures are great, so I mean, flip of a coin on who I play there, but it's roughly, it kind of works out that I'm basically playing with almost a 10-man squad this week. However, in order to make a transfer to cover this spot, I have to spend some of the cash to upgrade whoever, Totti or Nico Williams in this case, and that player that I bring in has to score that week or keep a clean sheet, get some sort of return, in order to make that transfer worthwhile, because otherwise I'm probably looking, I don't really want to make any defensive transfers for the final 6 game weeks. I really want to focus on my attacking players, because just for this 1 game week, I mean, I'm never going to play these 2 players again for the remaining 6 game weeks, and so to spend a transfer on these guys doesn't seem very worthwhile. And if they come away with 2 points for that game week for that transfer, you actually end up probably a little bit worse off moving forward. So we look to play one of these 2. We've got Trossard at home to Nottingham Forest, who will be my captain that week, most likely. We have Zaha at home to Wolves, which is also a pretty tasty fixture, Zaha on penalties. Maddison, assuming he hasn't picked up his 5th yellow card, is at home to Leeds. Leeds do concede goals, even though they do score quite a few. Well, they're quite an attacking team, and so Maddison could come away with some attacking returns there. If Mitrovic is back and fit, he is at home to Aston Villa, and then Tony, with a slightly tricky fixture, at home to Chelsea. But like I said, Tony's still on penalties and direct free kicks. So this is what the team would roughly line up for in the game week 12 blank. Now, going forward to game week 13, this is where I'm looking at taking a hit. And the hit that I'm looking at taking is to jump back on Martinelli and Foden. Now, if we look at the other key stat that I look at in terms of attacking threat, we've got shots taken in the box, so shot attempts in the box. Man City, top of the list with 112 shots inside the penalty box across 10 game weeks. That's insane. It's 11 shots. Is that right? 11 shots per game inside the box. That's just ridiculous figures. Liverpool is somehow still well up there, though, with 109 shots inside the box. Then followed up by who I thought would actually be second, which was Arsenal, but they are just behind in 102 shots inside the box. And then Newcastle, surprisingly, come in at 4th on the list for shots inside the box across the first 10 game weeks. Now, it then goes Tottenham, Chelsea, Brentford, West Ham, who are between 86 and 70, and then rounding up the top 10 was Brighton and Fulham with shots inside the box. Now, this was quite surprising when I actually looked this up. I did double check this, and this is accurate. This is off the Fantasy Football Scout members area under their team stats tab. And so Foden is watching the Man City fixtures. Foden is just looking electric. For an 8 million, he is well outperforming that price point. He is probably one of the best value buys next to Martinelli. And so Foden and Martinelli in for the final 4 game weeks, which are really tasty. That's the wrong tab. Bring this on over. Let's have a quick look at the fixture ticker. So Man City for the final 4, so from game week 13 to 16, go Brighton at home, Leicester away, Fulham at home, Brentford at home. Now I'm going to want 3 City players in these 4 fixtures. And it either comes down to Haaland, Cancelo and Foden, or Haaland, Foden and Kevin De Bruyne. Now, considering I'm looking at the 1 premium setup, I am looking at Haaland, Foden and Cancelo. There's not too many defenders out there that I want, and I've already got Cancelo on my team, and so it looks like just sticking with him for the remaining fixtures will be the best play for me. And Foden, like I said, just across those fixtures, he's going to score goals, and he seems to be starting every match. He looks about as nailed on as you can be in that Man City team. We probably will see a little bit of rotation around the Champions League fixtures, but I am quite happy to take that risk, considering I'm going for a strong 12 in my team, having a very good first bench member. So we do have to take into account the fixture congestion running up into the World Cup. There's a lot of games to be played alongside the Premier League fixtures, and so this is why I'm thinking spreading the funds from 2 premiums down to 1 premium and dispersing the funds seems like the smartest move moving forward. Now, Arsenal go Southampton away, Nottingham Forest at home, tricky game against Chelsea away, and then finally Wolves away as the final 4 fixtures after they come back from their blank. And Martinelli will be straight back into my squad. He is just playing outstanding in the Arsenal team. It was a huge mistake to sell him on my wildcard. I was assuming that the game against Liverpool he wasn't going to get anything, and that was obviously a terrible read. I am now very nervous looking at him going away to Leeds this week before he goes and has his blank. I'm also considering though whether or not I know I'm definitely taking a hit in game week 13 to get Martinelli and Foden in. Um, I'm contemplating whether or not it's wise to bring that hit forward and bringing in Martinelli this week for that Leeds fixture away, even though he has the blank in the following game week. Now I haven't played around with that enough, so I won't talk about that in this video. But with Foden and Martinelli in on game week 13, we've got a relatively strong team here. Bruno Guimaraes then drops down to the bench as he goes away to Tottenham. He's still a great player to have as first bench member. Obviously, Totti and Nico Williams, just sit on the bench and we don't even worry about them unless we get two random players that are either suspended or injured for the game week. Of course, this also does take into account that Mitrovic is not more injured than what we think he is. But with the bringing in Bowen for Salah this game week means in this game week 13 fixture, he is at home to Bournemouth in game week 13 before he has the tricky fixture against, I think it's City the following week. Man United, sorry, away. So in game week 14, the team is looking really strong. We've got Pope and Net against Aston Villa at home. Trippier also playing Aston Villa at home. Cancelo away to Leicester. James away to Brighton. Bruno Guimaraes comes back in off the bench to play Aston Villa at home. Foden is away to Leicester. Zaha is at home to Southampton. Martinelli is at home to Nottingham Forest. Bowen plays away to Manchester United. Now I may choose to take Bowen out for this fixture and actually play Tony instead at home to Wolves. Haaland is obviously away to Leicester, and Mitrovic would be at home to Everton. Now, Everton, Leicester, Nottingham Forest, Southampton are all these teams at the top of my list of teams to target as the teams that actually concede the most shots inside the box. And so the game week 14 team looks really strong without making any transfers. We've got one transfer to play with here. I'm not entirely sure what we would do. And the remaining fixtures are actually pretty good too. I mean, I did have a quick look forward, but we don't need to go any deeper than 4 game weeks deep for the sake of this video. So that's what I'm looking at the moment. Of course, it's still very early in the week and the tables have just updated, and so we're just reeling from what has happened. And perhaps I am getting a little bit angry at Salah, and potentially transferring him out is a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. However, it does set my team up in order to have the flexibility of 4.6 million in the bank this game week, with my trades 3.5 million, then with the following week 3.4 million. So each week I've actually got more than enough money to buy pretty much any player that I want each game week, with a very strong 12 members in my squad. So I've already got a rotating bench member that has a relatively good game each time one of the players in my team has a slightly tricky fixture, when we see like Bowen against Manchester United away, which, to be honest, is not that much of a tricky fixture, and I probably would consider playing Bowen in that game. We'll have to see how West Ham and Man United are performing in the future game weeks. But those are my initial thoughts for what I am going to do in game week 11 in order to ensure I've still got someone playing. I've got a strong team for game week 12 and can quite easily jump back on 3 City and Martinelli in game week 13, which is the key issues in my team at the moment. I need more attack out of Man City because they are just scoring too many goals to go unnoticed. We need the guy that's assisting Haaland or scoring next to him, and that seems to be Foden at the moment. KDB is also doing that as well, but I would much rather have the funds in order to be able to switch between a 3-4-3 and a 3-5-2 formation for the remaining 6 game weeks of the season before the World Cup kicks off and we get a brand new team after the unlimited transfers across the World Cup break. So those are my initial thoughts, my probably knee-jerk reaction thoughts for game week 10 and moving into game week 11. If you did make it this far through the video, please do consider giving this video a like. And if you are new around here, please do click on that big red subscribe button to be notified about future videos coming your way soon. And until next time, I'll catch you again shortly. Cheers.